Carrie, I like your festive jacket.
I wonder if everyone could take their seats. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting of the City of Bloomington Council to order. If everyone will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Maffey,
Here.
Alderman Sage,
Here.
Alderman Mwambe,
Here.
Alderman Burgess, here, Alderman Painter, here, Alderman Schmidt, here, Alderman Black,
Here.
Alderman Howman, here, Alderman Bray, here, Mayor Renner.
Here. Thank you very much. I wonder at this point if we could have a motion to permit Alderman Black, despite the fact that he's a millennial, to participate virtually. And Alderman Black, you're there?
I am, yes.
Okay. Obviously, you can't vote on this, but
Okay.
if it's a tie, I think I'll break it in your favor. But
I hope so.
So moved.
moved by Alderwoman Bray. Is there a second? Second by Alderwoman Schmidt. This is for you're away for work. You're not doing something crazy, are you?
Correct. Just work.
Okay, just work. We'll quote you on that. Okay. And any further discussion on this? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Maffey,
Yes.
Alderman Sage,
Yes.
Alderman Mwambe,
Yes.
Alderman Burgess, yes, Alderman Painter, yes, Alderman Schmidt, yes, Alderman Howman, yes, Alderman Bray, yes.
Okay. Scott, you're good to go. All right?
Thank you.
All right. And where are you?
I'm in sunny Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay. I see. Somewhere in Georgia. I didn't quite get the first part. Okay.
Sunny Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, sunny Atlanta, Georgia. Well, it's not now. It was sunny here today in Bloomington, just to let you know. All right, so now we're going to move right along. We have a presentation of Bloomington firefighters that have completed their one-year probation. And Brandon Vaughn, I wonder if I could turn this over to the chief and his colleagues, if they would all like to come on up on the dais. Please come on in. Good evening, Chief. Thank you again. And thank all of you for your service. We rarely bite. Come on up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, City Council. Tonight, I'm honored to introduce to you Brandon Vaughn. He has successfully completed his one-year probationary period on April 2nd and is ready for his full-time appointment. Brandon is from Monticello, Illinois. He graduated from Monticello High School in 2008 and then attended Parkland College to study the paramedic program and fire science. He has two children, Brady, who is with us tonight, and Ella, who is, Brady's 5, and Ella, who is 2, and Brandon is currently a sergeant in the U.S. Army National Guard.
All right, so I'll begin reading. You'll repeat after me.
Okay.
The first blank, you'll say your name.
Got it.
Okay.
I, Brandon Vaughn,
Having been appointed to the office of
having been appointed to the office of
firefighter in the city of Bloomington,
firefighter in the city of Bloomington,
in the county of McLean,
in the county of McLean,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of firefighter
the duties of the office of firefighter
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Do one more.
Thank you.
Chief. Thank you so much, Chief, and thank you so much to our distinguished firefighters, first responders. We really appreciate all that you do for all of us in our entire community every day. We should give a special round of applause for them. Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation honoring the leadership, dedication to duty, and ultimate sacrifice of U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant Joshua Rogers and declaring April 27th, U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant Joshua P. Rogers Day. And I understand that there are several people who are here to accept several awards, and we have a separate ceremony on Friday where we will be additionally renaming Airport Road Sergeant P. Rogers Highway. Do we have people who would like to come forward to accept the proclamations? If so, would you please come forward now? Thank you. Thank you all very much. I'll read the proclamation honoring the leadership, dedication to duty, and ultimate sacrifice of U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant Joshua P. Rogers and declaring April 27th U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant Joshua P. Rogers Day. Whereas Joshua Rogers was born on August 22nd, 1994 in Bloomington to Kevin and Vonda Rogers, and whereas following graduation from Normal Community High School in 2013, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and completed unit training at Fort Benning as an infantryman. And whereas after completion of the basic airborne course, Rogers was assigned to the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program 1 at Fort Benning. And whereas following graduation from RASP 1, he was assigned to the 2nd Platoon, C Company, 3rd Battalion, where he served as a machine gunner, light machine gunner, gun team leader, and Ranger Fire team leader. And whereas Rogers deployed 3 times to Afghanistan and earned the coveted Ranger Tab parachute badge and the marksmanship qualification badge expert rifle, and where he was also awarded the Army Achievement Medal, the Army Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Afghanistan Campaign Medal with 2 campaign stars, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Non-Commissioned Officer Professional Development Ribbon, Army Service Ribbon, and the NATO Medal. And whereas Rogers was killed in action on April 27, 2017 in Nangarhar Province during a joint operation with Afghan forces, and whereas posthumously Rogers received the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star Medal with Valor, whereas Rogers' love of country, friends, family, and military, as well as his purposeful life and generous spirit, will not be forgotten. Now, therefore, I, Terry Renner, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, do hereby issue this proclamation honoring the leadership, dedication to duty, ultimate sacrifice of U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant Joshua P. Rogers and declaring April 27th U.S. Ranger Sergeant Joshua P. Roberts Day. Thank you very much. And if I can, thank you. have, this is the sign. I'm going to keep the sign, and it's U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant Josh Rogers Memorial Road, and this will be issued on Friday afternoon. Thank you, and I believe Alderman Milawamwe wanted to say a few words as soon as we're finished. Oh, excuse me. If you'll... If you'll just wait here for just a second, Alderman Milawamwe.
Sure. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Renner. I just wanted to take a few minutes to once again recognize Sergeant Rogers as well as the family. Thank him for his service. I know he paid the ultimate sacrifice, and all of us are thankful to him for sacrificing to uphold the values that many of us hold dear. I also wanted to take this time, as Mayor Renner stated, that on Friday there will be an opportunity to remember Sergeant Rogers once again, because we are rededicating a portion of Airport Road in his honor. There's also another opportunity, I believe, on Thursday to honor Sergeant Rogers at the Normal Post Office at 10 a.m. Thanks to the work of Congressman LaHood. I also wanted to make sure that we recognized someone for whom service is not is actually come second nature, is Bloomington City firefighter Eric Owens. If you could please raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you for your work. He was instrumental in getting all of this going. That road, Airport Road, the reason for dedicating it is because Sergeant Rogers used it to go to school quite often, and I feel a special kinship to him because my kids also use that road. They went to the same schools, North Point, as well as Normal Community High School. And in fact, my daughter stated to me that she remembers him because she was at North Point, I believe, in third grade or second grade when he was in fifth grade. So I just wanted to to be able to recognize you all, and again, thank you. I know this is it's a very difficult thing to go through as a parent. Many of us could not imagine losing a child, because the nature of things is for the parents to go before the kids do. So I definitely feel for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alderman Milawamwe. And one thing, again, I want to echo what Alderman Milawamwe has said, and then one thing I also want to sincerely apologize for is the clerk ensured that she was giving me proclamations so it was going to be idiot-proof so that even I wouldn't mess it up. But I've given you all of my proclamations in my haste. So let me put those together like this. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good to see you here.
Thank you. So can I say one thing? I just want to, it's been incredible how the community here has surrounded us with love. So I just, truly from our hearts, we thank you very much and appreciate everything you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next, we have Parkinson's Awareness Month. Is there a Okay, if you'd want to come on forward, especially if you want to say anything, we can maybe adjust the microphone. And this is Parkinson's Awareness Month, April 2019. Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States. And whereas Parkinson's disease is estimated to affect approximately 1 million people in the United States, and the prevalence will more than double by 2040, and whereas Parkinson's disease is the 14th leading cause of death in the United States according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and whereas it is estimated that the economic burden of Parkinson's disease is at least $14.4 billion annually, including indirect costs to patients and family members of $6.3 billion, and whereas research suggests the cause of Parkinson's is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause and progression of the disease is still unknown, and where there is no objective test or biomarker for Parkinson's disease, and there is no cure or drug to slow or halt the progression of the disease, and whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement, rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, speaking, cognitive impairment and dementia, mood disorders, and a variety of other non-motor symptoms. And whereas volunteers, researchers, caregivers, and medical professionals are working to improve the quality of life of persons living with Parkinson's disease and their families, and whereas increased research, education, and community support services such as those provided by Parkinson's Foundation and other organizations are needed to find more effective treatments and to provide more access to quality care to those living with the disease today. Now, therefore, I, Terry Renner, Mayor of Bloomington, Illinois, do hereby proclaim the month in 2019, month of April, as Parkinson's Awareness Month. And thank you so much. Let me go ahead and bring this to you. Robert, did you want to say a few words?
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you. I've been living with Parkinson's for almost 25 years. And a couple weeks ago, I went to Peoria for a Parkinson's seminar. And I met a lady there that works with the American Parkinson's Disease Association, APDA. And we had a discussion about putting a walk on for Bloomington. And this is something I've been wanting to do for 25 years. But I just didn't know how to do it. Well, according to the APDA, as of a couple weeks ago, they are willing to put the walk on. I do not have a date yet or anything, but it's in the making. And
Hopefully August next year.
yeah, April
next year.
between April and June is what we're looking at. But I will know more details in the month to come. But I just hope this is a good turnout. So, but I want to thank you, Karen, Mayor, and everybody else for this. I will pass this on to my Parkinson's support group and my Speak Out Loud group for Parkinson's that was at ISU. So they all know about this. And just took a whole 5 minutes to do. So, but thank you.
Thank
Both of
you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Arbor Day, April 26, 2019, and here we go. Bobby. Proclamation, April 26, 2019, Arbor Day, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska and is now observed throughout the United States and the world, whereas trees are a renewable source giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas Bloomington has been recognized as a Tree USA city by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways, now therefore I, Terry Renner, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2019 as Arbor Day, and I urge all citizens to plant trees, gladden the hearts, and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Bobby, thank you. Next, we have a proclamation in honor of Rabbi Menachem Schneerson. Is there someone here to... Oh, yes, come on, please come forward. Thank you. And this is in honor of Menachem Schneerson, and it's Education and Sharing Day USA, April 16, 2019, whereas excellence in education is vital to the success of our nation and our city. And in Bloomington, we seek the betterment of our citizens and look to instill in each child and adolescent with a good education. And whereas by preparing our students for the responsibilities and opportunities for the future, education develops the intellect through lessons in literacy, math, and science. And whereas one shining example for all people of what education ought to be was the Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, a global spiritual leader who dedicated his life to the betterment of mankind, a tireless advocate for youth around the world. The Rebbe emphasized the importance of education and good character and instilled the hope for a brighter future into the lives of countless people in America and across the globe. And whereas the Rebbe taught that education in general should not be limited to the acquisition of knowledge and preparation for a career, nor should its sole focus be on making a better living. And whereas the educational system must focus on building character by emphasizing the cultivation of universal moral and ethical values that have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, including the values known as the 7 Noahide laws, which have often been cited as a guarantee of fundamental human rights. In recognition of the Rebbe's outstanding and lasting contributions toward improvement in world education, morality, and acts of charity, he has been awarded the Congressional Gold Medal by the United States Congress, Congress has established his birthday, as a national holiday to raise awareness and strengthen the education of our children, whereas the President of the United States has paid recognition to his vision each year on that day by proclaiming it Education and Sharing Day USA, and whereas the character of our young people is strengthened by serving a cause greater than self and by the anchor of virtues, including courage and compassion. By instilling a spirit of service in our children, we create more optimism for the future and our state. Therefore, I, Terry Renner, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, proclaim Tuesday, April 16th, 2019 as Education and Sharing Day in Bloomington, Illinois, and call upon government officials, educators, volunteers, citizens to reach out to young people and to work to create a better and brighter and more hopeful future for all. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for all you do. Pardon me? Oh, yes, of course. Thank you. Next, we have recognition of Josh McClellan's Special Olympics World Games victory. Is there someone here to accept that? Oh. And with the medals. Awesome. Recognition, Josh McClellan's Special Olympics World Games victory. Whereas Josh McClellan participates in the special opportunities available in recreation, that is our SOAR program and Special Olympics programs. And whereas Mr. McClellan was one of 7 athletes representing Illinois as part of the Special Olympics USA delegation and traveled with 300 athletes, partners, and coaches to Dubai and Abu Dhabi for the Special Olympics World Game, and whereas 7,000 athletes from 170 countries competed in 18 sports, and whereas Mr. McClellan competed in singles tennis against Australia and Germany and won a gold medal, whereas he also competed in unified doubles tennis with Bloomington resident Greg Hayward as his partner against Italy and Germany and won a bronze medal, and whereas Mr. McClellan's ability, dedication, and teamwork are shining examples for our Bloomington community. And I now, therefore, Terry Renner, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, recognize Josh McClellan for his outstanding Special Olympics World Games victory. Given my hand in the City of Bloomington to cause the city's seal to be signed on this proclamation, and I'm happy to give this to you. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Thanks again, yeah. Thank you again. And now another wonderful occasion, the recognition of Wilson Cycle's 50th anniversary for April 2019. Do we have someone here to accept the award? This is recognition Wilson Cycle's 50th anniversary, April 2019. Whereas Jack and Mary Wilson opened Wilson Cycle in Mackinac, Illinois in 1969, and whereas a few weeks later, a fire destroyed the building and left Jack and Mary with the costly and emotional decision of whether to rebuild or not, and whereas 45 years and 4 recollocations later, Wilson Cycle is located on Main Street in downtown Bloomington and is bigger and better than ever. And whereas the store boasts over 8,000 square feet and one of the largest selections of bicycles and accessories in the entire Central Illinois region, and whereas Jack's passion for bicycles trickled down to his son Michael, making Wilson Cycle a true family business, and whereas Wilson Cycle is committed first and foremost to customer satisfaction and to finding the right bicycle for every customer's lifestyle and budget. And now, therefore, I, Terry Renner, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, recognize Wilson Cycle's 50th anniversary and the hard work and dedication of the Wilson family. Thank you both very much. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thanks. Thank you. Do you want to say a few words?
Do you want to say anything? No, that's fine.
Thank you. Next, we have just an appointment to be recognized, and I'm going to embarrass her. I'm going to ask her to stand. The appointments by the City of Bloomington, Diana Hellman, as our representative to the Regional Planning Commission. Would you please stand for us? Thank you. Told you I was going to embarrass her. Okay. Next, we move to public comment, and public comment allows up to 3 minutes for people to speak and whatever they choose to do. If you want, we have a mayor's open house every 2 weeks, except for last Friday because it was Good Friday, but every 2 weeks from 4:30 to 5:30, right in the back at the what we call the fishbowl area. You can come in, you can get answers to questions. Hopefully we can dig in and get what's necessary. Sometimes we can solve problems on the spot, not always, but we can try. So if you want interaction between myself and sometimes aldermen and staff, that's certainly the place. The process for public comment is for you to voice your opinions to the council for up to 3 minutes. I'm going to start with Scott Steimerling and then go to David Kovas. Scott?
Scott Steimling, Ward 5. My concern is, as Jim Karsh will not care for, I keep bringing up the roads, and Terry, until something is done, I'm going to keep bringing up the roads. We've had I had one person that I saw just about trip on the sidewalk from it being raised, and they tried to get down there with a walker. They had to go out on the street, and I was outside, and they made the comment, they said, these roads are terrible. I said, don't talk to me, talk to Jim Karsh. And, we've had this motor fuel tax that went through the city in the past, and then they jacked it again. It was all to go into the infrastructure, and it went into what I call a slush fund. And Terry, I think you know exactly where I'm coming from. Maybe it went into feed the spiked pensions that the city had no business doing. City administration's been secured. They've set up a barrier so nobody can see. Tim Gleason is saying, well, that's so that the council can come in and work. Well, tough. Transparency, Tim. Do you didn't realize that? You know what that word means? I think you can detect a little anger. I thought the people this was be a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, and not of renter, for renter, and by renter. Maybe this needs to be renter country, not McLean County.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and go to David Kovas, and then after that, Nelson. Thank you.
Yeah, the council is looking at curtailing this city sick leave buyback program. I suggest you don't vote on this until you really know the true cost of this plan that is being suggested. They're offering a 1.25% increase in May, a 1.25% in November, another 3% the next year, another 2.5% the third year in salary, just across the board salary increases. That's a compounded 8.23 increase plus a signing bonus. And those eligible not for the sick leave buyback will get a $250 signing bonus. Well, they're not eligible for the buyback. Why are they getting the $250 signing bonus? These contracts are ridiculous. What will this pay increase cost in total pay increases over the years that they've got this 8-point-some% increase? And also, what impact will that increase in salary be on the pension eventually? So you're saying you're saving money, but I think you're going to end up costing money. So you really need to do your numbers and say, what are those costs going to do to salaries and pensions in the future, what you're given in this negotiation? So I suggest discontinuing those vacation sick days, limit the number of sick days, vacation days that could be carried over, and discontinue the 3% compounded annual increase in pension payouts. Somebody making $50,000 a year, in 15 years, they're making $75,000 on that pension, and they're 70 years old if they retired at 55. At year 25, they're making $101,000 on that $50,000 pension. That's a 100% increase in those 25 years. So I also say cut spending. Eliminate the Sister City program. That's $100,000 savings, I believe, in 4 years, just 4 years. Eliminate all yearly compound fee increases. The council should have to explain what those expenses going up are and by how much, and padding the budget in years when expenses are not that high is not fair to taxpayers, especially if those funds can be used on other things like the gas tax was. Make a separate fund for these fees so they can't be used on other things. And what happened to the proposal to say the gas taxes and all taxes related to vehicles should go into a special fund? I don't think you passed that, did you? Bloomington sprayed a bunch of the roads in the past saying, well, we're going to spray the sealer over and it's going to extend the roads. And you save money by not replacing those roads at the time. And we're seeing the example of what that experiment was. All the roads are crumbling now at a faster rate because you just sprayed over them. You didn't replace them when they had to. So cut spending instead of increases taxes and fees. Your solution to everything is jack the taxes, jack the fees, and we can't absorb that anymore. Somebody in retirement mode, they don't have a 3% bump in their pension like the government does. So cut spending, don't increase taxes.
Thank you. Nancy Nelson, and then Renee Nessler.
Hi, I'm Nancy Nelson, Ward 2. I'm also an employee of the City of Bloomington, and I just felt like I needed to come up here and tell you guys I started working for the city in 1993 when I needed a part-time job to have raised three teenage girls. I don't know why I'm so nervous. I've met half of you at least. So anyway, while I worked at the golf courses for the Parks and Recreation Department, I fell in love with it. And lo and behold, in 1997, when the Den opened, I worked full-time. I got a job out there jumping from my insurance world at 46 years old, jumping into the Parks and Recreation mode in the golf courses. I just want to know that I've always been proud to work for the City of Bloomington. And it's crazy. Way too emotional for this. Okay, I want to thank this council for providing me the opportunity by supporting the Parks and Recreation Department for enabling me to have such a great career. It was a fantastic career. I hate to say I'm retiring a week after next, and it's going to be really tough because I loved what I do. And I also want to acknowledge that the guys that I work with, I've worked with all guys for the last 26 years being on the grounds crew, and most of the guys at the golf course, they're all guys. Love every one of them. They have been the best people I could ever work with. They work hard at what they do. The guys on the outside, all the seasonal help, they take pride in what they do, and they love working with me, and I love working with them. The three city golf courses provide an opportunity for all income levels. All three of them have different crowds that go there. You know, we see an average of 100 golfers a day. That's 300 people a day that play at our golf courses. We love the people, and they're just awesome to us. I've met a lot of wonderful people working there. I've met a lot of people that I've worked with that play golf there from out of town, and I just can't thank you guys enough. I've had such a great career. I just want to thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Nancy. Renee Nessler, and then Connie Marino.
I'm Renee Nelson,
Marrero.
staff representative from ASME Council 31 and for the representative for Local 699. This past week, our membership overwhelmingly ratified the tentative agreement placed before them. Tonight, we hope that you do the same. Collectively worked very hard to come to an agreement. We knew before bargaining started that the city needed a solution to avoid the IMRF accelerated payment due to the sick leave buyback benefit. Our task as a union was to minimize the harm to our members. While the perfect solution for all is unknown, we believe we're successful in meeting both the city's and the union's objectives. This is a prime example of how the city can work together with the union to resolve problems. We do want to thank the city's committee of City Manager Gleason, Ben Ryburn, Public Works Operations Manager, Jay Tesloff, Director of Parks, and Angie Brown and Nicole Albertson from Human Resources. It is nice to be able to work in a cooperative and collaborative relationship rather than an adversarial relationship as it has seemed in the past. In my almost 9 years here, this round of bargaining has been very different from previous rounds of bargaining. The number of bargaining sessions this time was cut in over half. Bargaining was completed and the union ratified prior to the expiration date of the contract. An out-of-town attorney was not used, but instead the city manager was at the table setting the tone. This type of relationship the union currently has with the city is the type of a relationship we've always wanted, and we hope it continues for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie, thank you.
I don't know all of the members of the board. I wish I did. I know a few of you personally. But I want to challenge each and every one of you, even the new ones that are coming in. The old ones that are going will miss you. But what we'd like to do, I want to challenge every one of you. Find someone that has a chair like this or a wheelchair. Borrow it for a day, just a day, and even an hour. Go up and down the sidewalks. See which buildings you can go into, which buildings you can't. It is very difficult. Even someone like me, I have a walking stick. I use a cane sometimes. but it's hard to get into some of these buildings that don't have a way. We went to, I don't remember the bar's name now. They had to pick up his wheelchair and put it inside just so he could go in with us and enjoy time together. But these sidewalks, I don't know how many times I've seen him almost fall out of a sidewalk because of it, it's just uneven, the potholes, just like we have potholes in the roads that we have. We've got them in the sidewalks too. And it's awful because some people, how are they going to pick themselves up and get back in a wheelchair? My dad literally fell out of his wheelchair into the road and almost got hit because of a pothole in the sidewalks. And I've heard people say, oh, well, the roads come before the sidewalks. People that are disabled and can't drive a car, that is our road. That is how we get to from point A to point B. And if it's rough or if it's uneven, I can't tell you how many times I've fallen. And it's a hazard. And I understand some of these taxes that are coming in, maybe earmark them especially for sidewalks. That way we can do something to get people like me, people like Rob, so we don't fall, so we don't get hurt. Because I don't know what else I could say. But just, that's our roads. So just consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Con. We now move to the consent agenda. Are there any items from our rather lengthy consent agenda that any members of the City Council would like to have removed for separate consideration?
Yes.
Alderman Milawambwe.
Yes, I'd like to remove item BB.
BB?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't wait for the day when we have item AAA and AAA and triple B.
I can.
That'd be awesome.
Okay. Alderman Milawambwe. Alderwoman Burgess.
W and Y.
W and Y.
Yes.
Anything else? Alderman Black. Do you have anything to remove from the consent agenda?
I'm good, thank you.
Are you asleep there in sunny Atlanta? He's good? Oh, okay. Thank you for the... All right. So at this point, is there a motion to... Oh, I'm sorry. Alderwoman Bray.
Item X.
Item X. Okay. All right. At this point, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of items BB, X and Y, W and Y, and X?
So moved.
Moved by Alderwoman Howman. Is there a second? Second by Alderwoman Schmidt. Okay, any further discussion? Go ahead and vote, please. Alderman Black, how do you vote?
Yes.
Wow, that was emphatic. Okay, the motion passes 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. We move right along to item BB, and that is Alderman Milawambwe. Oh, you're recusing yourself. Okay. Is there a motion to approve item BB?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Moved by Alderwoman Schmidt. Is there a second?
Second.
A couple seconds. Second by Alderwoman Painter. Any further discussion? If everyone will go ahead and vote on item, this is just item BB. Alderman Black?
Yes.
Another enthusiastic yes. Motion carries 8-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. We can let Alderman Milawambwe back in if we want. Or not. You heard me. Okay. Next, we will turn to Alderwoman Burgess with items, and I'm taking these just in the order in which they were pulled, item W and Y.
I'm recusing on both.
You're recusing on both? Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion or a motion to approve items W and Y?
I'll move we approve both.
Okay, all right. Moved by Alderman Black and second by, I'm assuming an implied second by Alderwoman Howman. Okay? Any further discussion? Seeing none, if everyone will vote. How do you vote, Alderman Black? I'm assuming you're voting in favor of your own motion? Alderman Black? People are laughing at you, Alderman Black. Okay. Alderman Black? Going once, going twice?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, there you are.
Yes.
You are in
I
favor of
nodded.
your own motion after all. Okay,
Big
the
time
motion
in favor.
passes 8-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And I think, once again, if we want, we can let Alderwoman Burgess back in. And next we have item X, and I will turn that over to Alderwoman Bray.
Thank you, Mayor Renner, and thank you for the opportunity to visit about this item X. This item as listed is a contract with Hanson Professional Services for dam safety compliance design at Lake Bloomington. And I just wanted to take an opportunity to, and the amount of the contract is about a little over $500,000. And so if Jim Karch could come up, I just want to ask a quick question about this. And while he's coming up, I'll kind of lay out the context of my question. And I think we would agree here that delivering safe potable water for our city is a priority. It's one of the things that we deliver. So when I see something like this in our infrastructure that will directly touch and concern an item of supreme delivery of what this municipality does, I want to understand where we are in the continuing of taking care of that water source and how this dam study or how this most excellent study of
I'll
the
let you finish
dam
Go ahead and finish that. That's great.
relates to the safety compliance design and our plans. So, thank you, Jim. Can you give me some perspective on that?
Yeah, and so this is part of an ongoing process that we've started really multiple years ago, about 2014, whenever we first looked at that emergency action plan. You know, the integrity of our dams is very important, obviously. So this is not about the current, any concerns with any safety of the dam that's there in place, nor the bridge. This is part of the assurance of long-term sustainability of that dam. Whenever you look at working with DNR and different permitting, you have to make sure that it is in compliance. So this treatment plant has been up there for since the 20s, and so because of that, there are practices we need to make sure they're in place. We take care of the lime sludge that was up there before. We make sure that the dam has the ability to be inspected and maintained, and so because of that, we've been taking progressive steps. This is that next major piece that will allow us to ensure long-term sustainability, and that's why we're very much in support of it. It is not a crisis issue. This is one that we see as part of that. Ongoing. This isn't a first thing. This is an ongoing, the next step in what we as a department have been doing for multiple years.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And with that, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we pass item X as presented.
Okay. Motion made by Alderwoman Bray. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Alderman Milawambwe. Any further discussion on this? You can go ahead and vote. Alderman Black?
Yes to the dam study.
Okay, yes to the dam study. Okay, the motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And then we move right along to our regular agenda. And we have consideration of a resolution approving the submittal of a 2019 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, as requested by the Community Development Department. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our city manager. We have a very brief overview and very brief council discussion on this item. Mr. Gleason, pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over the public hearing. Jeez.
I follow you, Mayor. We're going to do a public hearing, which is 8A on the agenda.
And let me just go ahead and officially declare the public hearing to be open. And Mr. Gleason, thanks.
Thanks, Mayor. Council. Jennifer Toney. There you are. I was looking too far back. Our grants administrator for the city, and she'll walk through the public hearing, and then 9A on the regular agenda item is the action item. Jennifer?
Okay, thank you. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak a little bit before the public comment period of the public hearing so that I can kind of outlay some of the programs for the coming year. And then I especially want to say thank you to all of our councilmen that are leaving us in a few days, and thank you for your support of our programs and your service to the city. So what we're looking at now is going to be some information for the 2019 CDBG program year, which begins May 1st. CDBG is a balanced budget. We only spend money that's available to us from the federal government and then money we receive from program income. We do not get any general fund dollars for this program, so it's self-supportive. It says expected allocation. On April 17th, we did find out what our allocation is actually going to be. So we're getting $542,951 for our allocation from HUD beginning May 1. And that is just a little bit of a decrease over what we have for the current year. It's really less than a $10,000 reduction, so it's not going to significantly affect any of our programs. Obviously, we would rather it be either level or an increase, but we were pretty pleased that that's the only decrease that we had. Our program income is always estimated. We have no way of knowing from year to year how much we're going to get because it's all based on repayment of our homeowner rehab loans. Those payments are deferred as long as the homeowner is in the house. So as the home is owner occupied, no money is due back to the city until they leave, and so we have no way of determining that. Then our carry forward funding is a pretty good estimate based on what we know we have yet to expend and what we have left in our treasury. So at the bottom line is we have $673,952 available for us to budget. So this is kind of the outlay of where we are planning on spending our funding on with your approval and then HUD's approval. As with previous years, the majority of the funding will be spent for housing rehabilitation, homeowner loans and grants, and then I'm not going to go through each one, but I want to call out just a couple things that are maybe a little bit different this year. So the Bloomington Housing Authority requested some funding from us to replace the roof at Irving South. It's one of their housing complexes that is specifically available to individuals with disabilities, and so we're able to fund a portion of that. And then Habitat for Humanity requested funding from us for their Brush with Kindness program. And for many years, we have funded the WBRP facade program, which provides minor exterior home repairs within the WBRP service area. So by funding the Habitat program, we're going to be able to extend a similar program to the entire community and not just that limited service area. We will be continuing our partnership with the McLean County Regional Planning Commission to support a planning position. This is a position that's dedicated to us and the town of Normal, a jointly funded position to support planning for our next consolidated plan, which will actually begin May 1st of next year, and then also looking at regional housing issues. Other than that, there's not anything out there that's too unusual. We heard about sidewalks. We do have $80,000 budgeted in to work on a sidewalk project in Demis Grove. With this funding plan, we are able to fund at least a portion of every request that we got for funding for the request for proposal cycle from last year. This just kind of gives a year-over-year picture of what we expect the funding to look like. Program years 2015, 16, and 17 are the only numbers that are actual, so it's kind of where the main focus is. But I did want to point out some anomalies in some of the programs and explain why they look very different. Housing rehab, we've got all of our expenses except for one project in, so that's going to stay relatively level. I think it'll increase to like $244,000 for this current year. The other thing for the current year is I wanted to point out under demolition, our expenses for demolition are really down this year, and that's because of two things. One, we did not receive as many properties during this last year that we normally do. We have to have clear title usually before we do demolition, and that they just didn't come through. But then we also have funding from the Illinois Housing Development Authority that allows us to do demolitions, and so we diverted some of those programs over to that source of funding as well. And then the infrastructure is way lower than it's going to be at the end of the year. We actually have $175,000 out in sewer contracts right now, so we'll be completing 2 sewer projects in West Bloomington that'll go on to the current year. This gives just kind of another picture of what the consolidated plan looks like, again, using this year's funding. The reason we're focusing so much on what the whole picture looks like this year is because it is our last year for our 5-year plan. So we wanted to look at what we said we were going to do over the 5 years and what we're actually doing. So you can see, again, it's pretty standard year for year, most of the money going into housing with the larger portions broken down from there into demolition and public services and infrastructure. With this is just CDBG money. I do want to point out that we have other sources of funding for housing rehab, so that's actually even a larger portion of what we do in our department. We were just awarded a $378,000 IDA grant over 2 years to do housing rehab, and then we have a new program that I'm very excited about. We just found out last week that we will be getting $100,000 for the Illinois Housing Development Authority's I have to stop and think about home accessibility program. And so it's rehab dollars that are specifically only going to be available for elderly and disabled residents to help make home modifications so that they can stay in their home longer. It might be ramps, it could be a lift, a variety of things that typically we've been very limited with CDBG that we couldn't fund. And the really exciting part about this too is it's available for rentals. It's not only available just for homeowners. We can perform rehab on rental units with the landlord's agreement. So wanted to throw that out there since I know it's a concern for some people. Finally, before we move into the actual comment phase of the public hearing, I just wanted to remind everybody, you've been seeing maybe some things in the paper or online about a survey that we're doing. That is actually for the next consolidated plan. So if anybody wants to comment tonight, if we could maybe keep the comments specifically to what we're just doing in this next year. There's going to be plenty of other opportunities as we're working through the consolidated plan process. But there are flyers in the back to direct you to the citizen survey that we're currently doing for that. So if anyone has input right now, that's the best way to do it. And then we'll hold more public meetings in the future.
Just to clarify, so if someone has some specific questions about next year and moving forward, there are forms and processes in the back for them to participate. So
tonight, if this is, I put it back to the expenditures, these are the programs that we really would like to hear input on tonight.
Right.
So.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Questions from the council?
Can you go back to the slide that had the kind of the anticipated, I guess it was the one
Next
before.
Oh, sorry. The revenues?
Next. Third line down, administration. 71,850. Can you speak about that line just a little more?
Yeah. This is actually quite a bit higher than we have had in the past, and part of it is that we really started looking at the regulations and got creative with how we could fund some programs. Some of these programs we were previously funding under public services, but they actually were also eligible under admin, so we've moved them under there so that they aren't taking up funding under public services, which is capped at 15%. So one of the things we're required to do is meet what's called Section 3 guidelines, and it's mandatory that because we receive HUD funding, that we have to provide opportunities for job training or job skills development for low-income residents. So for that, we partner with Bloomington Housing Authority and give them funding to do job training with their residents, and then they hold an annual job fair. So that's kind of what that is. I already talked about the McLean County Planner. The Fair Housing Program, for the first time this year, we're looking at funding part of a position at Prairie State Legal Services. Fair housing is another thing that we are required by law to affirmatively further. And so it's an area that we've been a little bit weak in, so we wanted to look at funding a position so that they would have an attorney that's specifically there to handle fair housing and discrimination cases. And then the rest is general postage, advertising, things like that. My salary comes from the general fund. It doesn't come from CDBG.
Mhm. And if I heard you correctly, you made mention that we're partnering with Normal, and they're
For the
adding...
consolidated plan, so for the next 5-year plan that begins, we will have our own separate document with our own goals, but we're looking at a lot of the data on a regional level and how we can make a change regionally.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you could stay handy just in case. Is there anyone who would like to comment specifically on the CDBG budget for the upcoming year? That's our public hearing right now. Going once? Going twice? Okay. I'm going to declare the public hearing closed, and we move on to item 9A on our regular agenda. Consideration of resolution approving the submittal of the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. And now I'll turn this back over to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. 9A, you guys just did hear a public hearing conducted by Jennifer Toney. She's the grants coordinator for the city. Now looking for council approval of this agenda item.
Mayor, if I could interject,
Absolutely.
both Alderman Black and I will need to recuse ourselves from this because of our involvement with West Bloomington Revitalization Project.
Okay. Okay.
That is correct, yeah.
So, Scott, close your ears.
Done.
Okay. Is there any commentary or is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the resolution approving the submittal of the 2019 CDBG action plan.
Okay. Moved by Alderwoman Howman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Milwaukee. Any further discussion? Okay. If everyone will go ahead and vote. Motion carries 7-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And Scott, you can Scott, you can take your hands off your ears.
Okay. Hands
There,
are off my
perfect.
ears.
Okay, and then we can go get Alderwoman Schmidt. We now move to item 9B, which is consideration and action on an amendment to the agreement for professional management services with VenueWorks for the management and operation of the Grossinger Motors Arena, as requested by the administration. And I'm going to turn this over for a brief presentation to Mr. Gleason, and then council discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff and VenueWorks heard Council very clearly last summer, August of 2018, when VenueWorks presented financial outlook at a council meeting. And we've both been working towards improving the financial success of the arena. No formal solicitation ever occurred, but some discussion with interested parties took place. That also included discussion with VenueWorks, and staff believes a capped exposure of $350,000 is a step in the right direction. Staff nor VenueWorks want this to be the end regarding loss exposure, but believe this is a big step in the right direction. Both Steve Peters and Lynn Cannon are in the audience and available for questions from council.
Okay. Questions, comments, a motion?
Mayor, I'll
Yes.
make a motion that we approve this management agreement that has been presented to us.
Okay. Motion made by Alderwoman Schmidt. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Second by Alderwoman Howman. Any further discussion?
Terry, if I may.
I'm sorry, Alderman Black, what'd you say?
Terry, if I may, do I have the floor?
Yes, you have the floor.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate the comments by Tim and Steve and Lynn for the work on the arena. I will be voting no on this evening, just because I want to see a more focused approach on reducing those deficits. I know that we're trying to get there. I recall the conversation from a couple years ago when VenueWorks came in. about the hope of not having some of these losses. I know we never talked about not having losses, but I'm going to be voting no this evening just to ensure that the residents know that we're looking for more, and the city's ready to partner to make that happen. But I'm ready to see better from the arena.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Black. Anything else? Yeah, Alderman Miller-Wampwe.
Yeah, just kind of as a follow-up, I mean, this does not mean that we're accepting losses, right? But we're saying this should be the max, but everybody's going to work towards decreasing those losses even more. Correct?
That is correct. We have a 5-year agreement with Venue Works. We're at the point to where we have 2 years remaining. Definitely not satisfied, but it's one that Venue Works is very much a partner in believing that we've got opportunities with the hockey team stepping out, gives us more ice time locally, opens up on the schedule weekends for new opportunities, and we're cautiously optimistic.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. At this point, if everyone will go ahead and vote. And Alderman Black, I'm assuming you're voting no, is that correct?
No is correct.
All right. The motion passes 8-1. There's one nay to announce, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Black.
Okay. Thank you very much. We move right along to item C, and that's consideration of resolution to approve acceptance and installation of a statue commemorating the history of the aerial circus performers within the community as requested by the administration. And I'm going to turn this over to a brief presentation by Mr. Gleason and a brief council discussion. Thank you. Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Last week at the Committee of the Whole, we heard a presentation from John Wolwin about the community's circus history, and one of the primary locations of the trapeze training was at the former YMCA location just a couple of blocks north of here. With approval tonight, this is a similar agreement that McLean County Board approved last month. The statue will be located at the corner of Washington and East Street.
Okay. Questions of Mr. Gleason? Yes. Alderman Matthey.
I just wanted to add that I got a chance to go to the museum on Saturday and see the maquette of what the sculpture is going to look like, and it's going to be, it's bigger than I thought it was. It's about 15 feet tall, maybe 15 by 8 or 9 feet wide, and it's going to, I love the fact that not only on one side of it does it feature some of the aerial artists performing inside of the old YMCA, but the back side of it, they purposely carved out room for educational materials on the history of the circus in museum or in McLean County. So, and that all of the money for this has been raised privately by some of the families, the descendants of the family members who used to be performers, and they had multiple members from different families who came and spoke at the museum as part of the World Circus Day. It was just, I thought it was a pretty cool project. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve this as presented.
Thank you, Alderman Matthey, and thank you for that clarification about the private money. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Alderwoman Schmidt. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Alderman Black, anything?
Nope.
Or you
Thank
vote
you.
yes or no?
I do.
You
I
vote
vote
yes?
yes.
Okay. The motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. We move on to item D, consideration to approve the reorganization of the City Clerk Department to increase efficiencies by an ordinance amending the City Code to update the list of city departments and modernize the duties and functions of the City Clerk Department as requested by the administration. I'll turn it over to our City Manager, Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to have comment about item D and E as well, but the reorganization that we're proposing for approval by council does in fact come first before the appointment of our city clerk. Quick comments. Consideration of a reorganization that pulls contract administration into the clerk's office, reduces a full-time employee to part-time, and saves $35,000 in salary annually. The contract administration piece is driven entirely by Leslie's law background and could change under a different clerk in the future. Final contract sign-off does remain a function of the legal department. The function of contract administration will now have 1.25 full-time employees, with a quarter being the supervisory component, with Leslie as currently the interim city clerk. And then this is really more for 9E, the comments. I believe that Leslie has earned this appointment. Look to council for approval of both items. As I shared in my city manager update, the biggest changes are Leslie's analytical approach, has the attitude that matches mine of customer service, a can-do attitude, and has created an extremely positive atmosphere in the clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of Mr. Gleason or comments by the council? Or a motion?
Can we combine D and E, or do they have to be done separately?
Oh, we have them listed separately. I'll defer to our legal.
Okay.
Better do them separately. Okay.
I move to approve the reorganization of the city clerk department.
Okay. Is there a second to Alderwoman Howman's motion?
Second.
Okay, a second. Oh, second by sunny Atlanta from Alderman Black. Any further discussion? And if seeing none, if everyone will go ahead and vote. Alderman Black, how do you vote on the motion?
Yes.
Okay. The motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And now we will move to the next item that you've already addressed, but we'll go ahead and have you address that.
No additional comment, Mayor.
Enough said. Okay. All right. Alderwoman, Howman.
I move for the appointment of Leslie Yoakum as our city clerk.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Painter. Further discussion? Seeing none, if everyone will vote. Alderman Black, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. The motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And we move right along to item F, which is a ratification of contract with AFSCME Local 699. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to Mr. Gleason. We can get the interim in front of your name off.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. 9F is a practice that we started where we are bringing collective bargaining agreements before Council, not just on the consent, but on a regular agenda item. Request Council approve the contract with AFSCME 699. This was overwhelmingly approved by the membership. This agreement covers approximately 100 city employees. This is a 3-year agreement that does not require any reopeners. This agreement did not require the services of a labor attorney. This agreement was accomplished in 7 very productive day-long negotiating sessions. AFSCME came to the table ready to negotiate, fought for items important for their membership, understood the financial impacts of how sick leave buyback is paid out for employees hired before 2012, and were an integral part of the solution. If approved, sick leave buyback under the current practice payouts will end 4/30 of 2020. Both sides walk away with a win-win, in my opinion. For me, this was about the long-term relationship with AFSCME and our city employees, as this negotiation was important, but just a small moment in the long-term relationship. And before I lose these guys, I was going to save this under my city manager comments, but I don't want them to walk out after this agenda item. The team was Angie Brown in HR, Nicole Albertson, the HR director, Ben Ryburn, who has been a huge win for the city, hiring him after a long career at ISU. He's really done a quite substantial job of improving the relationship with the local, the time that Ben's been here. And then also we had Jay Tetzloff, Parks Director, and I negotiated on behalf of the city. Renee Nessler, we heard her under public comments as a business agent for AFSCME, and the local 699 team are in the audience tonight. And if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind asking them to stand just so that the council can see the members that negotiated the union contract. Would you guys mind standing? I'll take any additional questions and request approval. Thank you.
Questions or motions? Yes.
No, I would just like to thank Tim and the rest of the folks who worked on this agreement. I know it was probably not easy, because we wanted some things and the unions wanted others, but I was glad to see that there was a willingness to give and take on the negotiations. So thanks very much for the work.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo that. Certainly, one of the critical things that, I mean, obviously we depend on as a city government, where the tire hits the pavement, sometimes literally, where we're delivering services, we certainly depend on our labor force. And we want to make sure that morale is improved. And I certainly thank you, Mr. Gleason, for helping to make that happen, so that we don't have interminable contract disputes, and that we can approach something from different vantage points and still come to a consensus where we can at least agree to move forward. And thank you, Mr. Gleason. Thank you. Do I have a motion? Oh, excuse me, Alderman Malomboy, I'm
I just
sorry.
wanted to make a quick comment. I want to say thank you to Tim as well for, trying something different, because I know it took a little bit of a leap of faith, right? Because you asked us to try something different, and, we agreed, and then we can see the result, and I'm really happy to have, what seems to be the building of a long-standing relationship and something positive, in the end. So that's fantastic. And with that said, I also wanted to ask, because you did mention not using attorneys for the negotiations, at some point, if we can get if you don't have the numbers today, but a sense of how much we've saved, by doing this, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion then to approve?
I will make that motion, Mayor.
Moved by Alderwoman Howman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Painter. Any further discussion? Everyone will go ahead and vote. Alderman Black, how do you vote? Yes. Okay. Motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And now we move to our next item, item G, consideration of an ordinance creating a new capital improvement fund titled the Capital Improvement Asphalt and Concrete Fund, as requested by the Administration and Finance Departments. And I'm going to turn this over for a brief presentation to Mr. Gleason, and then brief council discussion. This is obviously a continuation of our discussion from the last full regular council meeting. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff did bring this ordinance before council on April 8th at the council meeting. Discussion occurred, and staff did our best to capture what we heard, the opinion of the majority of you. The city manager update provided the original April 8th version and changes that are now in the April 22nd version that's before council tonight. Request approval and available for any questions.
Questions of Mr. Gleason? A motion then.
I'm going to make a motion that we pass the ordinance as proposed, and I want to thank Jeff and staff for listening carefully to all of our comments and embedding that in this amended or revised ordinance. Thank you.
Okay. Motion by Alderwoman Bray. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Alderwoman Schmidt. Any further discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, if everyone will go ahead and vote. Alderman Black, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And we move right along to the City Manager's report, and that's related to our Finance Director's report. Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First up is going to be Scott Rathman, Finance Director, his monthly Finance Director's report. Scott.
Not tired of me yet? I've been up here a lot, it seems like lately. So, as I mentioned last month, with the home rule sales tax, we were tracking right along 7 months straight of results that were over budget. Last month, we were under budget, so I added the 2 columns out to the right to indicate the month-to-date over or under. March is our highest. We use 15 years of seasonal activity. We project an annual amount for each of these major tax revenues, and then we seasonalize them through the year. March is the largest month for home rule sales tax. The budget's $2.5 million, but you can see that we missed it by $362,000. Now, that's 2 months in a row we've been under. The prior month was, I'm doing this from memory, 60 or 70,000. April has also come in. We're not reporting that here, but since we know it, I'm going to disclose that to you. That's come in $180,000 under. So 7 months in a row over. We've got 3 months under. We're still tracking. I mean, you can see if you look down at local use tax, there's a glare there, but $353,000 over year-to-date budget. I mean, right now, I haven't seen the details on the sales tax by retailer. I can't share those, but it's kind of indicating a trend, obviously, that everyone's aware of. Less from brick and mortar, more from internet. Thankfully, the internet sales tax was passed, so that's at this time more than offsetting. So that's the positive message right here. Income tax continues, $33,000 over budget for the month. I didn't mention that local use tax was $75,000 over for the month. So the projections, they get a little tricky when you have 7 months in a row, trending one way, and then we get a dip. So we've got 2 months left for home rule because there's that 2-month delay. That's a $3.7 million remaining. So who knows? In a way, I know that's a difficult thing to grasp, but our hope is that maybe we had, we're using 15 years of seasonality, but you could still have like almost a formulaic issue with spreading that annual through the calendar or the fiscal year. So next month, we'll be waiting for that number.
Scott, before you go on, can
Yes,
I?
sir.
I've been talking to a lot of retailers in town, and they're seeing the dip as well, and been reading a lot of articles about it, and the tax cuts from last year are, a lot of the articles are pointing to that because the tax cuts mean people paid less out of every paycheck as they went throughout the year, and then so people were actually getting smaller returns. Smaller refunds, so nobody's going on refund shopping right now, which makes sense because you would start getting them in February, March, and then April, depending on when you paid your check. So it's a trend that is happening nationally, not just here, that people aren't getting as big of refunds because they paid lower taxes in throughout the entire course of the year. So it's happening all over Bloomington, it's happening all over Illinois, it's happening all over the United States, that there's no refund splurging that is happening right now. So I just want to throw that in, that I've been watching that too.
Appreciate it. And with the internet sales tax, there's a lot of discussion of, how to capture the local taxes within that. Obviously that's a very technical issue for online retailers, but someone's going to come up with a solution and it'll get passed one of these days. It's just going to be a while. Tracking all the way down to the municipal level for online retailers, knowing what tax to apply. I'm sure people are working on that right now, but that's the problem when we have that shift too. We have what you're talking about, just a lower activity, and then if we have activity shifting though from the brick and mortar, I'm speaking the obvious now, to the internet, we're missing out on that home rule portion of the sales tax. But I also will mention food and beverage, $134,000 over budget, and plus it's $134,000 over prior year. So, indications are positive there as far as the feelings out in the economy. Eating and drinking. For the next month, I'm going to include out to the right, hopefully this won't get too small, but the explanations of the variances, similar to what I did for the budget reporting. So why the ups and downs? I've been kind of giving you the highlights. For this month, I want to draw your attention down to that projected year-end column where the surplus right now, I'm just going to round up $800,000. Last month it was 1.4, 1.5, but we had the $600,000 reduction due to the Miller Park concession stand. So, I indicated last month it was going to be $800,000. So I just went through the revenue variances. We've got ups and downs. The budget manager and myself, we're still really confident that we're looking at a surplus of that $800,000 to $1 million. You know, the expenses, you know, they're coming in under right now. Next month we'll be 1 month closer to finalizing that number. But I guess, you know, with this exercise, each month we're having this discussion. So even if we have those variances in the revenues and stuff like that, we're going to dial it in so it won't be a surprise come August, September, October. Enterprise funds. These are tracking fairly well. Golf, I was going to highlight. Is Nancy still here? She's not. So, you know, unfortunately, it's been a rough spring. We've got the FY18. The revenue was at 75%. This year, we're at 73% of the budget. The year-to-date loss last year at this point in time was $133,000. If you look up the year-to-date actual favorable, we're at 377. So, you know, that's just one of those funds that we're kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature a little bit, and, you know, we're just going to have to watch that and manage that as time progresses. But, you know, before you know it, with golf, you hit spring, and then we hit the end of the fiscal year. There's not a lot of time to make adjustments to, you know, to kind of save that budget, but we're going to see what we can do. I just had a couple other, like, for future references, if I may, Tim. You know, we're looking at another bond refi that should save the city about $300,000. So I'll be bringing that forward within the next month or so. So, questions?
Questions, Mr. Rathman? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thank you.
And then the events for the week are up on the board. And then the next thing I already did in the previous agenda item where I was going to recognize the negotiating team. That's it for me, unless there's any questions, Mayor.
And no other questions. Okay, thank you very much. Next, we move to recognition of outgoing council members. And the only thing I want to clarify is that we do have, if you've ever run for office, it's not an easy thing. If you've ever won and were successful, it's not an easy thing, you know, to govern once you're there. And certainly given the fact that the salaries haven't gone up in like a generation and they barely cover probably your mileage, people aren't doing it out of, they're doing it for the goodness of their heart. They're not doing it out of, you know, for the money. So let's keep all that in mind, and I'm going to go forward and I'm going to ask our city manager if he'll help me. I'm going to do these in alphabetical order. So we're going to start out with B. Alderwoman Burgess, again, presented by the City of Bloomington to Alderwoman Burgess in grateful appreciation for your outstanding service and leadership as Alderwoman for the City of Bloomington from 2015 to 2019. If you'd come forward and take this. Thank you. Next in alphabetical order. She knew. Presented to Diana Howman in grateful appreciation for your outstanding service and leadership as Alderwoman for the City of Bloomington from 2014 to 2019. Congratulations. If our city manager could come forward. And we have, again, the City of Bloomington, Illinois presents this to Alderman David Sage in grateful appreciation for your outstanding service and leadership as Alderman for the City of Bloomington from 2007 to 2019. And last, but definitely not least, the City of Bloomington presents to Karen Schmidt in grateful appreciation for your outstanding service and leadership as Alderwoman for the City of Bloomington from 1999 to 2019. Thank you. And that's all I have. If we can move on to aldermanic to comments. Oh, Alderwoman Howland.
Yeah, I just have a couple. Tomorrow night, incoming Ward 8, Alderman Jeff Crable and I will be having a meeting specifically for Ward 8, but anybody's welcome to come. The basic, or the largest agenda item is on the ServPro program, so that residents can find out more about it. It'll be tomorrow night, right here from 5 to 6, City Hall. So, and then do we know where the Arbor Day tree is going to be planted this year?
North Point.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Oh, excuse me. Alderman Milwambwe and Sage.
Just another quick reminder about the dedication of Airport Road in honor of Sergeant Joshua Rogers. It will be at the corner of Fort Jesse and Airport Road, Memorial Road. It will be at 3 o'clock. Yes, at the corner of Fort Jesse and Airport Road. And for those of you who, I'm assuming people will be driving there, if you need to park, you can park at Cross Point Church of God. Okay, so they've allowed us to use the parking there. Okay. And again, I want to say thank you to the departing alderman. I know we spent a lot of time together. Yes, quality time. But I do expect us to spend even more quality time after your service, at least for the Bloomington City Council, is over. So it's been a lot of fun working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Milwambwe. Alderman Sage.
Yeah, and I'll echo that too, Mboka, thanks. But Tim, I wanted to take a second and just acknowledge a couple of those, what I thought were really significant achievements on the agenda tonight, particularly around the managing of the sick leave buyback issue, the reduction in the capping of losses, on the Coliseum, and then the additional transparency around the asphalt and concrete fund. So, just thank you for your leadership here. I mean, things will continue to improve and get better, and because of you, because of our staff, and because of our employees. So just thank you, Tim, because those are noteworthy and much appreciated.
Thank you. Okay. At this point, we're going to go into executive session, and for those of you who would like to wait with bated breath for us to come back and adjourn, you are certainly welcome to stay. But we do have pending litigation, and we have a riveting discussion on executive session minutes that unfortunately will be behind closed doors. No action after we come. Thank you. And there will be no action when we come back, except for I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Do I just stay on the line?
Sure. Yeah, you just stay on the line. And we've had a request for a quick bathroom break from Alderwoman Howman.
Mayor, we need a motion to enter in.
Pardon me? So moved. Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, can motion
Second.
to... Oh, wow. Okay, the council's ahead of me. All right. We have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the items of litigation in minutes. That was made by Alderman Matthey and seconded by Alderwoman Painter. And
We need a roll call.
we can, why don't we do that when everybody's back? Yeah. Okay. You want to ask?